I've benefited from the kindness and generosity of many people during my time living in Taiwan and Japan. Even at the very beginning, when I knew no Chinese, I was treated with nothing but respect and encouragement. When the rest of the outside world became the primary breeding grounds for COVID-19 and Taiwan was safe, nobody attacked me or blamed me. They made sure I had all of the supplies I needed to protect myself from the virus. I am livid and disgusted about the things that have been happening in the US. Today, we're going to hear from individuals who have lived in the United States. There are many resources in the description below that I hope you will refer to. The people we're hearing from today, they aren't activists, they're just regular people. So they are not responsible for teaching you, me, or others. They are simply here today willing to share their personal experiences. Before we start, please allow me to share a concept with you. It is not white versus black, white versus Asian, Asian versus black. It is good people versus racists. So if racism against Asians in the United States makes you mad, you need to be just as mad at the racism against Black Americans, against Hispanic Americans, you name it. If you fight on the good team, that means you fight against all forms and targets of racism. First up, let's meet our guests for today's video.
Hi everyone, I'm Kendrick. I'm from Taiwan. I've been in the US for like almost 6 years.
我是 Sandy， 我是台湾人。我国中毕业的时候去了 Pennsylvania 1年，高2到大学毕业都在 Nebraska。
My name is Kelvin. I am from Malaysia and I have resided in the US for the last 4 years as a student.
My name is Jason Miguel. I am 22 years old. I've been in California my whole life.
My name is Kalvin. I am from San Diego, California, and I've been living in the US my entire life.
My first question for you is, what do you identify as? For example, it could be Asian, Asian American, Chinese, Korean.
I identify as Southeast Asian.
I am a Taiwanese.
Most time I'm telling people I'm Taiwanese.
I identify myself as Filipino American.
Asian American.
Have you ever been treated differently because of your race in the United States?
Definitely, yes. I mean, some people are not really nice here. Some people are prejudiced against people based on colors, and they treat you even worse when they know you are a foreigner.
其实我没有遇到过任何，对我来讲，我没有感觉到任何有所谓的种族歧视。
It definitely got stressful at one point in time, but overall, I had not had any hate or discrimination directed towards me over my time there, so I would consider myself pretty lucky.
I can't say that I have in the sense of, what we're seeing now.
Not really.
When was the first time you were treated differently?
In 2012, I was hanging out with my Asian friend in New York. One of my friends probably tried to take a picture of some street artists without their permission or pay. The street artist just yelled at my friend loudly, "Don't film. Go back to your Chinese restaurant." Someone kind of yelled at me, "Coronavirus." Yeah, but I'm not 100% sure.
I think the only encounter I had was at a party where someone was really drunk. I was heading out from the building and he just kind of shouted "Hey, Ching Chang, what are you doing here?"
4th or 5th grade, there was a subtle comment from one of my classmates, "Do you eat dogs?" And I'm like, no, but I have one.
I always got those questions when I was younger. You're Asian, you're supposed to be good at math. You have a tiny, They always make fun of that. When I was a kid, they used to make fun of you with the squinty eyes.
I remember one time, me and my friend walk on the street, and then there's homeless people, and they just scream out, shout out, say, "Oh, you guys are Asian," and what was yelling and just say some bad words for no reason.
What do you think is the most common way people in the United States will either tease you or harass you? For example, some people have been told konnichiwa.
Actually, I seldom get harassed or discriminated against. Some of my friends, they are Mexican American. Some of them try to say Chinese to me, but in a good way. Sometimes they will try to say ni hao.
People assume, oh, you must be smart in math and science, and maybe that's just because I'm engineering major. Part of it probably has to do with my race as well. A lot of people wear glasses, they get cold 4 eyes. And there's this comment of all Asians, you have small eyes, you can't see, and that's why you gotta wear glasses, right? I've heard that.
What bothers you most about others' behavior towards people of another race, specifically Asian people in the United States?
When I go somewhere like grocery store, I always pick an Asian cashier or staff to ask for help.
Why?
Because I think I am afraid of being treated differently by someone who is not the same race.
I feel like ever since the outbreak of the virus, there definitely have been people who have misunderstood the situation, and unfortunately these people might be filled with anger or hate that they can't process themselves. And I just think that compassion and love is just needed now more than ever, which is why I think this movement is so great, because it gives people a platform to express those things, especially when it comes to bringing justice for the victims, as well as raising awareness to hopefully curb the hate in the long run.
We hear the saying, don't judge a book by its cover, every day or every other week, but especially now, a lot of people of all walks of life are judging people by the color of their skin. Speak American, or go back to your country, or you don't belong here. We hear that. It's kind of hypocritical, because these folks are judging people by the cover, even though they're telling us don't be too quick to judge others.
Well, what frustrates me sometimes is they always pick on the most vulnerable type of people. Mm-hmm. For instance, the 2 hate crimes that happened in San Francisco and the few that happened in New York, they were all older Asian women and men, and they died from it.
And today I saw an article, I think it was a Hispanic lady, she got beat up because someone thought that she was Asian. She appeared it, and they attacked her.
Before the pandemic, how do you feel your race affected your safety in the U.S.?
The city I live is not quite safe, actually. I don't go out after 8 or 9.
Is that because you're Asian, or just because it's a dangerous city?
Because it's a dangerous city.
I feel not safe walking back to the dorm from the classroom, but it's because it's dark and nobody's on the street, not because I'm Asian.
So if you put it into a simple yes or no, do you feel like your race impacts your safety in the U.S.?
I'd say yes.
Prior to the pandemic, I really wasn't concerned about my safety.
I guess during or post-COVID, that has changed?
Yeah, seeing all the videos on Twitter, Facebook, and on the news. In Chinatown, a lot of older Asian people are being attacked. Everybody has a negative connotation against Asian folks, especially with the Trump administration referring to it as Kung Flu. There's that subtle thought in my mind of, if I go outside, will I be on the next video?
After the pandemic, I do feel going out, even in normal daytime, since I'm Asian.
Being Asian, especially over the last year, there were times when I felt vulnerable, even going to work or being in public. And I think that's mostly a result of the things that are happening to other Asians that are making me walk around having to watch my back sometimes. It's upsetting that I have to fear for my life because, just some people are filled with hate over something that I didn't do.
It's gotten quite worse. I mean, my grandmas were afraid to go out now. But before the pandemic, they would just leave where one of my grandmas, she goes to the casino a lot, and after the other one goes to, she goes to the temple a lot. So they're two polar opposites, right? But now with the pandemic and all the Asian hate rise crime, they're at home.
Do you have anything else you'd like to share?
I guess whoever is watching this outside of the US, this is definitely a very stressful situation and a really unfortunate time in our society. But don't let that stop you from visiting the US. I think it's generally a safe place. In the US, you can still make really great friends and meet people who are in full support of you and where you come from. And I guess Americans kind of coming together to fight racism and bringing awareness to this situation is just living proof of that.
Very well said.
I have been making a lot of friends here since the very first day I was here, because I think most misunderstanding, discrimination, racism is from ignorance.
Hopefully, going forward, people keep an open mind.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Kelvin, for sharing
Thanks,
your
Tristan.
experiences.
Thank you so much. While some of our guests fortunately have not encountered discrimination in their personal lives, that definitely does not represent the rest of the Asian population in the United States. I'd like to leave you with a quote that I learned in middle school while learning about the Holocaust. First, they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. If you do have stories of your own, please share them in the comments. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.